good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. And it's Doug Smith broadcasting from the shores of the Ottawa River, which has icebergs in it today. So we're on the verge of the Ottawa River freezing up and me getting that ice rink going out there. How are you doing this morning, Laurie?
Oh, we're doing great. Foggy morning this morning. Beautiful frost on the trees. And here in Drayton Valley, Alberta, Canada. And glad to be here. And we have an exciting show planned for everybody this morning and a special guest, someone that we love really a lot. And she'll be joining us soon. But let's do a little catch up. How have you been, Doug? What's up?
Oh, well, just everything's going fantastic. Well, I mean, everything's going fantastic with respect to being able to help a lot of people because there's so many people that need help. But it's not really a fantastic thing when you think about it. It's a terrible thing, right? And we're just sort of beginning, from what I can see, just from the data. Is people aren't getting better right now. They're still on the downward slide, and so this next year is 2025 is going to be a year where people need to reach out to family, give them a lot of hugs, a lot of touching, just be present with the people that so that they can, get some of the stuff that's built up inside them out of them, right? Get the the S word out of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the stuff. And you shared with me quite a while ago about that trajectory from COVID. You want to share that? Because I think that's so powerful, because we're coming right into that time frame. Over to you, Doug.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you just look up the aftermath of 9/11 on the internet, you'll see papers on the aftermath. And those papers will show you what happens mentally to the blast radius, around that emotional trauma that occurred. And so the pandemic was that times 1,000. Okay. And so based on the data from 9/11, what happened in New York, you can extrapolate that to the world, and it'll give you a picture of how devastating the impact was. And I have to say was, because we're not under threat anymore, but people are almost behaving like they're under threat. They became used to feeling like they were under threat. So, our guest today, Paula Oness, has developed, my work into a meditation series that helps you do that, helps you relax, helps you de-stress. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Awesome. And I know that we're just facing so many, like suicides are up, mental illness is up, crime is up, domestic violence is like over the top.
When was the last time you saw a video of a guy doing this to the back of a guy's head in the middle of a city?
Whoa.
In the middle of a city. Like, I'm looking at this individual and I'm going, I just wish that if I could rewind the clock, that he would have met you, and had a chance to just dive into what was going on inside of him that didn't make any sense. So
and I think he comes from, an affluent family. He wasn't in foster care. You know what I'm saying?
Valedictorian.
Yes. I mean, the last time that happened in New York, it was John Lennon, and it wasn't even in his back, at least.
Yes, and we didn't have the ability to show every single person in the world what just happened.
No.
Like they were so close. I thought they were going to allow the camera to show somebody getting shot in the back, but thank goodness they cut that off, because the impact on society and the responsibility of the media when it gets close to this stuff is huge. And you can speak to that too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we want to get closer to people, help them, support them, show them love, because love is neither created nor destroyed, and it's the cause of effect of itself. Love is such a critical thing, and if you start with that basis, good things will come out of what you're doing for people, and that's what they need right now. And that's why we're here, is to look for people to give a hand to or help especially when we're doing well, especially when we're doing really well financially. It's really important to spread it around and do good, because it's only going to haunt you if you don't.
That's right. Well, I think we should bring on our special guest. I don't want to waste any more time because it's precious with her. And I'm sitting here with my notepad getting ready for the updates because it's been a while since Paula and I have connected, although we stay connected. So let's bring in the beautiful Paula Oness here. Good morning.
Good
Hey,
morning.
Paula.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you two.
Well, thanks for coming. I think I got to get my got to get my chair up a little bit here to get up to your level.
Getting to see
Oh
you.
dear. If that's all, listen, if that's all it would take, wouldn't that be great? Just
There. So how are you, Paula? Where are you coming from this morning? Because I know you've been seeing the world the last year.
Oh yeah, right now I'm in Calgary, and it sounds like I'm the only one that has sunshine today. So that's that's for me.
And where else have you been, like over the last 6 months, 8 months?
I took off on a van trip, actually. I was living in a van for a while, and I went cruising throughout BC. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. And I was even offered like a Starlink so I could have internet everywhere I went, but I purposely opted to go without so that I could disconnect for a while and spend some time actually reconnecting with nature. And it was so like, it was such a beautiful experience. I felt so refreshed after that. It was really nice.
Nice. How long were you gone?
It was about a month total.
Oh, nice.
But there's like a time warp that happens when you're living in a van and like just really enjoying your life. I think 3 weeks passed and it felt like 1 week. And I saw my calendar and I needed to return the van soon. And I was like, what just happened? Like, I'm just getting started. This, like, I could live in a van easily, no doubt. It's
Chris Farley could live in a van too, down by the river, Saturday Night Live. There was something about that attracted people. It didn't push them away.
We made fun of it back then, but now I'm like, that's the goal. That's the dream.
Live in a trailer down by the river. There you go.
Wow. Yeah. Well, when we had the wildfires here a year and a half ago, we ended up in a camper with another couple, friends of ours. They're younger than us. They're like our kids. They live here in town. And our 4 dogs all together. We have 1, they have 3.
Awesome.
2 couples and 4 dogs in not a really big trailer. And we were there for 2 weeks. It was heaven.
Wow. That adds a whole new dynamic when there's so many people like sharing a small space like that. Because I was with 1 small dog, but if there was another human in there where you have to navigate and like share, you have to coordinate it, who's going to the bathroom, who's in the kitchen, like it's not the easiest. So I'm glad it went well for you.
And you worked on a project while you're away, and we're going to get to that project because it's so key to people's health and well-being. Mm-hmm. But can you share, Paula, like, we have blocks of times in our life where things change for us, and you've been going through a lot of transformation over the last few years. Maybe you could back it up 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and just share with us where you were. Because I look at 7-year cycles, but let's go back 7 years and what was happening in your life.
You know what? It's crazy to even think that this was such a huge part of my life, but I was bartending in Edmonton for 10 years. And over the course of those 10 years, I developed such a nasty habit with alcohol. I was drinking every single shift, which was either 4 to 6 shifts a week, and not just casually drinking, but I was getting blackout drunk way too often, to the point where I would wake up and I felt myself get dumber. Like I was killing off my brain cells in a massive way. And it got to a point where it was quite scary. And I thought that I would need to go to rehab or start seeing addictions counselors to recover from my alcoholism. But I've thankfully managed to curb it on my own using and now that's what I share with other people as well. The meditation techniques that work so well for me. So I'm very grateful to be in an entirely different space than I was back then. I can't believe that was like such a big part of my life.
How do you go from that to where you are running a business and living in a van down by the river when you want? Like what did it, did somebody introduce you to something? Did somebody guide you to a certain place? Like what was the trigger or the change in direction? Because you're either going forward or backwards.
It was a big like shifting moment for me. But okay. I'm thankful that at the time that it had already gotten to like such a low point for me, I had already gone through hypnotherapy school. So I had learned a lot about the subconscious mind. And the entire time I was kind of thinking about how I would be helping other people to heal and change their lives and overcome their difficulties, but I never really applied it to my own life. And then I think it was at the beginning of COVID actually, where I like sat down with myself and like built a plan for myself and built a schedule and was dedicated, put the time and put the effort in. And I wasn't leaving the space until I felt better. And I just stuck to like a very strict meditation plan and all different types of like manifestation techniques. And for me, the biggest change was actually like seeing myself as healthy and sober. And then I practiced being in the energy of like health and sobriety. So I became that version of myself in my mind first. And then when you're used to being that way, then your subconscious mind gets used to being that way. And then everything just kind of flows toward that direction. So it was kind of like if you change your mind first, then you naturally gravitate towards those goals that you've been working on. So it like once I started doing it consistently, it actually became quite easy, if I'm being honest. Like I always imagined that it was going to be like some big struggle where like shit's hard and it's like difficult and I have to like restrain myself and use all this willpower to like not drink, and it's going to be a struggle. But it wasn't that way for me, which is the most like impressive part. If I'm being honest, I thought it was going to be so difficult, but it actually was way easier than I was ever expecting. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm onto something here. And then there are people out there that are doing it like the hard way. And it doesn't have to be as hard as you think it does, basically. So now I'm here to share as much as possible about it.
So we got together because you realized that this thing called trauma can be managed in a way that isn't, killing your body, in a way that makes you actually younger, right? Right? You want to reverse this whole thing called, your longevity is so critical. And what changes have you seen in your physical abilities and body over the last, since you started this journey?
Oh my gosh. Well, one of the things that I focused on was like being active, because when I was in my alcoholic years, I wasn't active at all. And I was a smoker too. So I was like hacking up lungs every time I tried to do any like physical activity. It was not a pretty sight. But that was one of the things that I started like imagining about my life, is that I'm an active person. And like when you do that, it becomes more comfortable to do these things. So like for me, it was yoga. I changed my identity around who I was. Like I started considering myself to be an athlete and a yogi. And then it just was easy for me to continue with it like in a consistent manner. So I go to yoga all the time now, and I impress myself with what I'm able to accomplish. I'm more mobile and more flexible now than I have been in my entire life. And like health in general. And now, like, the world is my oyster. I turned into a bit of a yes girl because I just know that I can actually accomplish anything I set my mind to. So now I hike up mountains. I go paddle boarding. I play pickleball. I'm in a pickleball league. I play slow pitch.
You're a little young for pickleball, aren't you?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Save that one for later, Paula. Save that one for later.
Yeah, my parents got me into it, and it was like a few years ago. So I had so much. It's such a fun sport. So I saw a league, and like that's such a great way to be social and to get out of the house. And then in the summer you're outside. Like, it's, oh my gosh, that's a fantastic sport. We need younger people to get on board with it. Okay,
yeah.
If you've got yeah.
I like pickleball. It actually, pickleball is built after a game that came out of California that I used to play down in LA, and paddle tennis.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have courts down there in Venice Beach. And, I played a lot and I competed at tennis when I was younger. The only problem with pickleball that I find as a competitive athlete is it's really easy to hurt people. Like, for me, I can hit the ball so hard and I don't want to be 5 feet away from somebody pounding a ball right at their head because, I hurt them.
Well, I've been on the receiving end of that, but I never found it to hurt. One time I lost a nail, being like a smash to the hand, and that was the only time that it okay, that stung. But I've gotten it in the face, and it's never hurt me that bad. But maybe I'm not playing against people of your caliber.
There you go.
No, it's actually the people. When I play with people, it's the people that don't have experience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the ball's coming so fast when I hit it, and they can't react. That's
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are tennis players that really don't like to play the game with people because it's just, the wiffle ball won't kill you. A tennis ball won't kill you, right? So I guess just a mark is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Introducing Veteran House Alliance International Monthly 50/50 Raffle. Purchase your ticket today, link on display, and have a chance to win cash and help a great platform supporting veterans.
Anyways,
if I may jump in here, because this is something that Paula shared that I'd like to add to for our viewers to know this, regardless of when you mentioned, Paula, about how hard we envision the cure or we envision the recovery. I just like everybody to know that anything that you use to get well is a lot easier than what you've just been through.
Exactly.
If you got through the addiction, or you got through the abuse, or you've already done the hard time. Mm-hmm. The healing and the recovery systems that we all three have in place, that's like a walk in the park. Mm-hmm. So if we could break that barrier of people being afraid to step into the healing and recovery processes, that we all three are in the same business, we just use different tools. So I'd love for people to know that if you're struggling to make that decision to embrace modalities, processes, whatever, it's not nearly as hard as you can imagine, because you've already done the hard time.
And it might be uncomfortable temporarily to do something different than what you're used to doing.
Right.
But like the final result, it makes it so worth it in the end. It'll be so beautiful.
If I may put my hand up, it's still an ongoing process though. Right? For you, Laurie, for Paula, it's an ongoing process.
I'm still learning.
Yes.
And once you step into that journey of taking care of self and studying self and learning about self, that's forever. There's no arrival time. I'm sorry. I'm 75. I'm in a big learning curve right now with some stuff that I'm working on. But being able to know that we're capable of unlearning as well as learning.
Yes.
So if I learned to live one way, I can unlearn that.
So it worked. It works. We're all in violent agreement. It works. So you realized it worked. And then you said to yourself, okay, I'm going to go help thousands of other people. I mean, amazing. So what happened then? Tell us about that.
I was actually in meditation when I had that realization. And it was kind of like I was looking back on where I just was like a year ago compared to where I was now and how I'm feeling. And I was meditating on it and I was like, holy crap, I just shifted my life in such a massive way. And I feel incredible. Like I figured out like such a beautiful thing that worked so well. Oh my gosh, I need to share this with other people. And then the ideas started to flow about how I would possibly be able to bottle that feeling up, that method, those techniques that I used, bottle that up and get it to other people as well so that they can use the same method that I used. And so that's what I do with all of my recordings.
And also the way we started was, it was amazing. You interviewed me at a couple of interviews and then went away, to your workshop and took what I talked about in the interviews and placed it in my meditations. And I mean, got my brain sort of structured and working in the right order, right? So you do that for people, right? You take them and personalize it, correct?
Exactly. And I love personalizing meditations because I use the vernacular that they use. So I know that their mind already has an easy time like believing it. And I use their goals, what they see for themselves. Because even though like we might have similar goals, the reason behind our goals and what that's going to mean for you to accomplish, it actually varies from person to person. It's wild. Like I could make 100 recordings like about the same topic, but if I make it for 100 different people, they would sound wildly different. I've never made like 2 recordings that sound the same. So like the personalization aspect of it is huge. And then the added bonus when it's personalized, people are more like, they're going to listen more often. If it's made specifically for them, then they're actually going to stick with it more often. And sometimes repetition is key.
Commitment.
I have to speak on that if I may.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
So Paula created a meditation for me and she said, what area do you want to work on? And I said, finance. Because COVID really hit us hard. We took huge hits financially. And I said, I need to regroup and recoup. And I told her what my challenges were. So she created the meditation. I listened to it twice. And the next thing I know, the floodgates opened up and the money started coming. And I haven't looked back. And that's been since, that's been a few months. And 2025 is going to be like phenomenal for me. So thank you. And I'm a living testimony that what you do works.
This is why I do it. Yes.
and so now, like you've been doing meditation for many years. You've been doing hypnotherapy, and the bringing together of the digital with your work and making it available for more people, that's been a focus for you too. So maybe you could talk about what you've done with my work. Yeah, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah.
So we first met and you sent me a copy of your book. And when I first got that book, I was like, okay, like, yeah, maybe I'll thumb through and see what it's all about. And then I think I made it to page 3 or 4 or something. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is it. I'm going to like, we're collabing on this because I, for months prior to reading that book, was thinking of like making a series of guided meditations and I wanted to hit motivation and focus, and there were different things that I wanted to do. And then you have it already packaged in a perfect, like it was exactly what I already like wanted to do. And it was kind of like one of those moments where I was like, holy crap, did we just meet for a reason like that neither of us were expecting? I was so excited about it that it was like, that's like game over. This is happening. We're collabing on this. I'm gonna like I'll write up the first one and get it sent to you so you like know what I'm talking about. But it was just kind of like a match made in heaven, honestly.
It's amazing. It was amazing. And just a little background for the listeners that don't know my experience with meditation. When I was 13, instead of allowing me to destroy the house, my mom took me to meditation practice, and I learned transcendental meditation at 13, which saved me during my hockey career. It saved me when I was injured badly. And so, I've seen this from a very young age, and now it's, manifested in my life into these recordings that are going to be available, right? I mean, it's just coming up. Like these techniques are going to be available in a structured, guided fashion, not just guided meditation. That's one thing, and it's better than just meditation, but structured, guided meditation. Maybe you could talk about that.
Sure. Well, there are so many types of meditation. You can do it so many ways. And like, this is the way that combines both of our expertises in like one package. So not only like the way that we go through the program, it's all done by design in a way that your mind can like kind of latch onto more easily. But then the guided meditation, that's what has worked so well for me. And it's also like meditation that targets the subconscious mind. So I find that to be a very powerful type of guided meditation. So it's just, like the structure and the way that it's guided, it's all designed to take someone through the process where if they complete the program, in my opinion, there's no possible way that they won't feel better in some capacity. And
they can't help but latch on to these things, especially when the brain's in theta brainwaves, right? Can you explain to people when you rest and listen to meditation and what happens when it's still playing, but you've actually gone to sleep? Maybe you could talk about that.
Well, that's when the subconscious mind is the most malleable. So there's a couple different things that you can do with that state that make it an incredibly powerful state. The first one is that you can retrieve information. So that's what we do in a hypnotherapy session. We find the source of any of your issues and we discuss what happened. And oftentimes it's buried in the subconscious. So it could be something that happened when you were a young child that's still stuck with you and it stays in your energy. So that's one thing that you can do in that state. And then the other thing is you can input positive information while your subconscious mind is the most malleable. So you'll tend to believe things more easily without battling it. So you can take on like different identity types. If you want to see yourself as successful, see yourself as healthy, see yourself as all these different types of things, when your subconscious mind is malleable, it believes it more easily. And then you practice being in the energy of that. That's a whole other aspect. You visualize it, you see what it looks like, but then also it's like practicing what it feels like. How does it feel like to behave that way? And then linger in that energy so that your subconscious mind gets used to it. And then you become guided to manifest these things, basically. Your subconscious guides you,
and it controls you. That's the thing. That's what you're going to learn automatically is your subconscious mind controls you. And the priorities it has are very simple, right?
The Disability Channel would like to thank our existing sponsors. We really appreciate the support and kindness from the BIAs across the GTA, Ontario, Canada, and our friends in the USA. We love making new friends. Thank you for supporting our existing employment programs.
Basic needs.
Yes, Mr. Host.
Meeting basic needs, clarity of thought, and helping other people, and we're talking structure now, are the only priorities your subconscious mind has. Right? And so if you speak to those particular things, there's going to be a lot go in. Right? If you're talking about those three things. So how much are you talking about those three things all day? Meeting basic needs, clarity of thought, and helping other people. Incorporate that into your life, right?
And every single human is already controlled by their subconscious mind. So if you're not aware of it, then you're at the mercy of whatever your subconscious programming already is. And then this is just a way to alter that, make choices that like bring awareness into that and have some control over your own subconscious programming.
In an organized way, in a way that you know is going to have a positive effect. Is there any negative effects? Some people might be listening to this and going, well, I don't want to do that because it's going to make me crazy and I'm going to yell at my husband tomorrow because I'm meditating. Is that something that can occur? Or I'm going to yell at my wife, I don't want to be one way, not the other.
The misconceptions like surrounding hypnosis, especially, it actually blows my mind. But like, first of all, you're not going to absorb anything that you don't like relate to, that you're not okay, not okay with. And then second of all, like I would never do that. People don't know that, but it's only for the benefit of everyone involved. We only focus on good things. That I don't even use negative words at all in case your subconscious mind hears it. Everything is framed in a positive way. So it's incredibly safe, and it's only if it's aligned with your values that it's actually gonna stick in there. So what you're saying is, if you're not moving towards meditation, it's because of an excuse that's not a valid excuse. And then also, it's going to be happening in other capacities too. If you fall asleep watching TV, that's your subconscious mind is hearing that too. So you can either be filling it with garbage and like toxic things, or you can have some control over what's getting inputted and be mindful of that and use it to your advantage. Or it's
because it is, as we've talked about, success in a short period of time. Our subconscious mind is our 800-pound gorilla, right? And if you have an 800-pound gorilla working for you, boy, could you ever get a lot done?
Exactly.
I have a question, and Doug, you may be able to answer to this too. I've heard it. I don't know it because I've never. But when someone is in a coma, and let's say you're in the hospital and you're comatose, is it true that you can actually hear what's going on around you, or if someone is reading to you, or if someone is praying over you, or whatever? How is that true?
It is, but it's not always guaranteed that they're going to remember that consciously. No. But sometimes what the doctor says in like the operating room can have an effect on the result of the procedure, because their subconscious mind is always running, it's always listening, but their conscious minds might not be. It like the conscious mind isn't always going to be present to relay that information and. Wow.
That's amazing, because I've been in surgery 6-7 times, and when you go into surgery, if you're listening to this and you haven't been in surgery yet and you're scared of it, it requires trust.
Yes.
If you don't trust, your whole body will just like seize up, like so it taught me. I think that was one of the reasons I talk about trust today and the importance of it, because physically I was there with it.
My teacher, who's a wonderful woman from the Congo, but she used to say that if she was going in for a surgery or procedure, she would tell the doctor or surgeon to only say positive things. Don't say like, oh, we're going to lose her. We're going to do like, this is going to happen. She would coach them first. You can do that with other people, but do not do that. That's my request for you to.
Wow. Well, that's an amazing lesson for anybody who's next to the medical field that's listening to us right now. I remember just a little story from me when I was paralyzed and I was in the rehab center and I couldn't move. I remember not even believing that it was happening. And when they were transferring me over to my bed, there was a file on my bed and it said Doug Smith, quadriparesis. And it was the first time I had ever seen it. And I remember it like it's crystal clear, me turning my head as they were going to transfer me over into a hospital bed at the rehab center with my name and what I was on a file.
Wow.
It knocked me out. It almost destroyed me. 2 weeks. I couldn't function. I made no forward progress.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's just my story, right?
Exactly. And there's so many factors at play where like you could hear something and then you can either absorb it, but some people like fight against it. And that's good to know too. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the truth, but you could hear something about yourself and be like, no, that's not true, and make sure that it doesn't happen. So it doesn't always like stick. And then there's like other people at like play a factor too, because I believe your wife was really helpful. You read that on the file, and then it was your wife that almost didn't accept that as a possible reality and made sure that you didn't like go down that path.
Yes, and maybe you could speak to the importance of having that support. You know, without support, it's hard for any human being to do anything. Actually, you know, but it's important that there's support for you when you're going through this process, right?
We're wired that way as humans. We're born into a support system, and we need that throughout our entire lives. Like absolutely, and like the positivity of your support system is huge too, because you can have a support system that isn't very supportive, and that's like
toxic.
Yeah, toxic environment.
And sometimes you don't even know it, right? It's so subtle.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm. And it's impossible to get through life without interacting with people in a large capacity. So you need to be mindful of the people that you surround yourself with.
Maybe like, I'm curious your experience with isolation and you know, extracting yourself from isolation, because I know I felt it, you know, like it's really comfortable to stay at home and hide for a couple of days, you know, but maybe you could speak to that.
That's why like COVID was so damaging for so many reasons. And that's one of the big ones, is that people almost got used to isolating and not relying on other people. And they created like their own worlds where they don't need to rely, they don't need to interact with people. And that is damaging, because when we connect with someone, that raises our vibrations, like our energy field, our aura lights up. If you have a positive interaction with someone, you feel like uplifted and good after that. And that's what we need more of. Mm-hmm. And it gets amplified if there's like larger groups of people doing the same thing. And then not to mention physical touch. There's chemicals that are released, like endorphins that are released when we have like physical touch with other people, that it's really important for our well-being, to the point where if you are if you're single and haven't had physical touch for a while, you should be getting like massages just to get that physical touch from another person, because that's how important it is to us.
So massage therapy, any type of, I guess, treatment, any one of the modalities that you're comfortable with, if you feel good about it, I think the lesson here is, at its deepest, is if you feel good about it and you feel better doing it, don't let anybody convince you that you shouldn't do it.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and there was a research done, this was a few years ago now, that sometimes a senior, for example, the only time they get touched is when they go to get a haircut or get their hair done.
Oh.
That's the only physical contact, especially seniors living alone, that they have that physical connection.
And that's, so even if you don't need a massage, or like your body's not sore, you don't need that, consider it for reasons that extend beyond just the massage. Like the physical touch is so important for us as humans and for your mental health.
My body's feeling fine. I don't have to go get one of those things.
Or I don't do hugs. Okay. I get that a lot. I never hug a person unless I get their permission. But I've had clients say to me, well, I don't do hugs. And then I'm going, yeah, well, you definitely need what I've got to offer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's your client. There's your next client. Oh, I love it.
That was their first mistake.
And they've probably told that to themselves so many times that they believe it now, and it's going to be hard for them to shift out of that, which is a shame. Hugs are lovely.
I know.
But the most important thing is it's possible, right? That's what you're talking about is the possibilities. And what people can achieve in such a short period of time. As you know, I talked about with Laurie before this show even started. At less than a year ago, I stepped into the Dr. Laurie Davis world, and I was on not a fast decline or anything, but everything was sort of changing. And within a year, like I'm going on a trajectory like this, and I won't get into the details, but you know, I'm meeting people like yourself, and everything seemed to manifest through Dr. Laurie's work, and I appreciate it, Laurie.
And I've worked with Laurie too, and it's fascinating. Like I was kind of like at a moment where I was stagnant, and then working with Dr. Laurie was like, okay, we're shaking things up.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Just a little shake like this. Yeah.
And then like the progress that I've been making, it gives you like the space to amplify that, you know, like so I 100% agree with that.
And it works what you're doing, Laurie. Like if we could talk about just for a minute for our listeners, there's several other shows that have spawned from this that people can tune into, right? For other things than just sports and how healing relates to sports. Maybe could you share that with the audience?
Of how healing relates to sports?
No, the other shows that happen during the week.
Oh yeah. Well, yes, we've got a variety of shows. We broadcast pretty much every day of the week, because when you were talking, Paula, about the vibration, what I wanted, one of my goals with the shows is to give people a place where they can come and connect and have that human connection, and rich with content. Our content, we have enough, the three of us have enough content. We could broadcast for the next 10 years and never run out of stuff. And that's all been, you know, the purpose of the shows is to expose that. And I actually have met a new client in Manitoba recently, and she wanted to know how much it would cost to be on the show. Because there are shows out there, you pay to be on the show. I've done that in the past. And I said to her, when you're invited to be on the show, that doesn't cost you anything, because our mission and goal is to expose the public and our viewers to the fact that there are resources and many ways to get well. I don't have all the answers. Doug doesn't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, but we have a big piece of the answer. So that's the purpose of the show.
And all the shows bring the stories.
Yes.
Because without the story, what's it worth? Story, science, solution. Right? Let's talk about story, science, solutions, and the solutions come in the form of options. Right? And so the message that we're talking about right here on this show, it has to span across all the shows. You know, the other listeners need to hear this, because the way that you explain it, Paula, is so real. Your story's so real, and your confidence about what happened, and what you've been keeping track of, and how you've been helping other people and seeing the same results needs to be heard by more than just this group.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, like on Mondays, Paula, we'll have you in on a Monday, because Monday's show is all about self-care, empowerment, self-worth,
Yeah.
support, all the things that we've talked about. We do that on Mondays. And Tuesdays is business and finance. Wednesday, special communities. Yesterday, we did a show on the gang life. We did 3 episodes.
Yes. That must have been amazing.
Yeah. And yesterday I had a guest who was involved, and she's been here. She's done her work here. But out of her experience there, she became a youth care worker, and 17 years in the justice system helping youth who have been remanded and in court. And so there's lots of great stories out there. So, and then Thursday, now that we do the press box. So yes. And Friday, the odd Friday, I do a show only if there's fun involved.
I love that.
I call it Fun Friday.
So you got to do one of those for sure.
Yeah. So back to you, Doug. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did very well. And you know, you both are out west, right? And
yes.
you're both connected to the First Nations community, both, you know, in blood and in heart, right?
We welcome you to advertise and promote your goods and services, and or brand your logo to 34 million subscribers on Canada Talks 167. Your investment will go towards our employment programs in the media industry for persons with disabilities and veterans.
So maybe let's talk about, you know, your background, Paula, and your relationship to, and then yours as well, Laurie, because I think they're both important to hear.
Well, I'm Métis actually, and you might not be able to notice because I don't exactly look like it, but I have like Indigenous relatives, and I even have my great uncle was an alcoholic and like homeless on the streets of Edmonton. But alcoholism is something that does run in my family too. So it's not just me that has struggled with it. It's like it's a long-term problem for a lot of people.
And Laurie, your connection, you're doing a lot of stuff and want to see like significant change, right?
Yes, absolutely. I started working in the Indigenous communities 27 years ago, was my first experience. And so worked on and off reserve now for the past 27 years, kind of in all capacities. I've done work for lots of the nations throughout Canada and the US. So just being able to make that connection and experience that. And I was mentored by a Mi'kmaq elder, and I became a Mi'kmaq warrior woman in 1998. So I embraced the culture for me because I felt really comfortable there, and the spirituality and everything. So it's been huge, and it still exists. And I'm doing a project in January, and loved every minute of it.
And it's a different nation. And that's why I brought it up, not to confuse things, but to say, you know, this nation is going after this right now, right? It's going, and I'm not as familiar as you two are, but there's a big movement to go the healthy way as opposed to the, you know, the narcotic way, right?
Yes.
Which all your work that you're doing feeds into, Paula. Now tell us where. We haven't even said where you can find you, right? We should have told people right at the beginning, but talk about the website, talk about the work you've been doing over the last month and a half, and where people can plug in, okay? And take your time.
Well, I started a company called Mind Over Everything for obvious reasons. So that's like my website. You can find mindovereverything.ca. And then our big project, in which we are calling Meditate and Thrive, which is an 8-week program of guided meditations. And we have like accompanying workbooks with journal prompts, the whole shebang. But that can be found at mindovereverything.ca/meditate. And that's like, our big project, which is a combination of Doug's work, and then I turned his work into a series of guided meditation. So now we have a big program, and it's starting on January 2nd. So there's still like a few weeks to get in on it. And right now we're actually doing 50% off right now. And because this is our inaugural launch of this program too. So we're offering a bunch of bonuses. I think we get your, like a course that you've made. Even the great ones have bad days. We have a course there. I made extended sleep hypnosis recordings. There's chakra meditations as bonuses. So it's a big, yeah.
Yeah, the bonuses, when people sign up now, they can plug into those bonuses and try a breadth of different modalities, right?
Oh yeah. Like I just wanted to give as much value as possible for people listening and show them different ways of relaxation, different meditation techniques, because some things are going to work well for others and some won't, but I want the option. I want people to get used to it, because I love a good chakra meditation. That is one of my favorite things to do. That's one of my all-time like go-tos. If I don't know what to meditate on, I do a chakra meditation.
Well, explain what it is.
Chakra, like it's the energy systems in your body, and you can't see them, but you can feel them, and it gets the energy moving in different ways. And in order to increase the flow of chi energy, you want to maintain a straight back, and there's a whole bunch of like goodiness to it, but you just feel amazing if you focus on your chakras. So there's 7 energy points, and that's one of the bonuses that I include in the program. But that's something that works so well for me, but that doesn't mean that everyone that listens to it is gonna love that. That's the beauty of humanity. We're all different. We all like different things. So I just wanted to include things that might be a reach for people, might be new to people. They can try it. If they don't like it, that's okay. There's still a bunch of other meditations included. But
well, the question I think people have to ask themselves is, why aren't they looking at it? Why aren't they stepping towards it?
Well, then that's where I come in. That's where I come in, right?
If you can't get over that hurdle of getting something
Right.
that you just have to plug in and go to sleep and listen to make yourself better, you do need to talk to Dr. Laurie Davis as soon as possible.
Because the answer to that question would be, the answer, why not, is 9 times out of 10, it would just come from that self-worth place that I don't deserve to be well.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
if I have that belief in my subconscious mind that I don't deserve to be well, I'm going to avoid all 3 of us.
Yes.
Like a plague. All right. Yeah. I'm not going there, Doug. So, people have to be open to recognize that they do deserve to be well. So I'm kind of like, I bridge that gap, because generally when people come to the retreat that you've both attended, that's when they will then step out and go get that haircut, or go buy those vitamins, or go do some meditation, or start reading the good books and watching different things. So sometimes it's that core belief that I don't deserve. Not sometimes, 95% of the time. When I get and a friend of mine in California, she said, that old technique that we used to use years ago, we help people peel the onion layers off, the outside one comes off easily, and then we get down to the thin skin, and it really gets hard to peel the onion. She said, forget that. She said, we have gardens of avocados down here. I take the avocado, I cut it, and I get to the pit. Never mind peeling the onion.
That's hilarious.
So yes, thank you.
Well, people just don't understand that what's controlling their behavior, not moving towards something like this, is their subconscious programming. At the end of the day, it's something that you're doing to hurt yourself as opposed to help yourself. And I personally believe there's no inertia, right? So when something this obvious isn't being done by people, it's time to do an investigation. It's time to turn the lens on yourself a little bit, stop blaming other people, and do what you did. Start saying yes to everything, because that's one of the easiest things you can do. Is when someone asks you a question, you want to do this, you say yes. Just do it for the next 6 months. And you started doing that, right?
Yes.
And also I fully know, I fully understand that everyone's timeline is different. So even just talking about this is someone might not be able might not be ready to make the appropriate changes and like fully start and make the shifts and do all these things. But just hearing about it and knowing that it's a possibility, they might get to a point where it's going to be a lot easier for them to actually make changes. And then also seeing other people do well and do the self-development thing and improve the quality of their lives. I feel like that's a bit of a trend these days. Like people are actually like showing the changes that they've made, and it has an impact on other people as well, because now they know it's a possibility. Now they see other people doing it, and maybe they're going to be intrigued to do it themselves. Whereas
let's show people what people are accomplishing. You know, exactly. I mean, I'm in to show more people. So, you know, I'll tell my network, you know, about the successes that people have had, and I think that could, you know, chip away at a lot of other people that could use the support and help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That'd be
well,
awesome.
I hate to be the bad guy here again, but can you believe an hour has gone by?
Not really, actually.
We could talk like that time warp, Paula, that you talked about.
It's totally.
It's like that for me every show.
Mindovereverything.ca. You know, everybody that's listened or you just catching the end, Paula, you get the last word. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be on this. I love speaking about this and sharing all the things that have worked for me, learning about what's worked for you, and getting other people on board with it too. But like Doug mentioned, mindovereverything.ca, and then /meditate to access our brand new meditation program. That's like, we basically make it as easy as possible for the listener. So they don't need to think about it. They don't need to question whether they're doing it properly or like what to do to get into that powerful theta state. We do all the work for listeners so that they get to shut their mind off and just like literally press play, listen when you're going to sleep. It's we purposely made it as easy as possible. So
excellent. Thank you, Laurie from Drayton Valley, Doug Smith from Ottawa, Ontario. Where are you at, Paula?
Calgary, Alberta.
Fantastic. Well, you guys have a great Christmas. I don't know, we might be taking a break soon, but Merry Christmas, Paula, and Merry Christmas, Laurie. Merry Christmas to our viewers, and we'll talk to you soon. Anything you want to finish with, Laurie?
No, just thank you, Paula, for coming. It's terrific to see you again. Let's stay connected. Mm-hmm. And now that I have this information, I'll pass that on to my network as well.
All right. Well, you guys have a great day.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Paula. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Rich and radiant I am, rich and radiant I am, I am. Rich and radiant I am, rich and radiant I am, I am. Now is the time to realign with my truth so deep inside. I am always provided for in this moment.
Thank you.